everybody. Welcome back to the Illuminated Podcast, where we're illuminating the wisdom that's been here all along. I'm so glad you're here. And I want to say thank you for hanging in with me as I find my voice in this process. It's taken a lot of years for me to get to this place, to come into a public space, even our tiny little corner of the world that we're building here, and share what's on my heart and what lights me up each season. So thank you for being here. I also just wanted to take a minute today to thank my dear friend and our brilliant podcast producer, Cody Aramita. This episode, Earth Season, marks 1 year since we decided to bring the Illuminated Podcast out into the world. And it's all thanks to Cody. It's because of her encouragement that I've felt ready to share this way. And it's because of her that I feel supported enough to keep going. It's because of her that everything we share looks so beautiful. Thank you, Cody. You're an incredible being. And the work you do with helping those of us in helping fields share our light into the world is the most important work there is, especially in these times. You're a gift, and I'm blessed to call you my friend. And we're for sure going to link her contact info in the show notes for those of you ready for support from such an incredible, soul-centered, brilliant being like Cody. Thank you, friend. Sorry for the extra edits. For those of you that don't know, I am a crier. So thanks for hanging in with that. All right, so on to today. Today's episode is all about Earth Season, and I wanted to just kind of take a minute to talk about where we're going on the wheel here. Okay, so here's a quick recap of where we have been and where we're going. So far we've been, or last episode we were in fire episode here. You can see it's at the highest point of the wheel, and it's the most yang time of year. But also immediately as summer solstice hits, we start to kind of turn over here and move into the yin side of the wheel. And things kind of gradually start to come down and feel heavier and get more material, become more weighty and heavy. And so we're moving into earth here. I want you to keep this in mind as we go today. Okay, so this is also where we are on the clock. So remember, the 5 elements move the wheel of the year. And the Meridian clock kind of speaks to a smaller window, like the hours in a day or the months of the year. So in Earth Season, we're in this territory here, and we'll talk more about the time of day and get specific as we go, but I just wanted to show you where we're at. So this is where we are on the clock here. We're in the earth element with the spleen and stomach. I'm showing you this because I wanted to mention the clock relationships that we'll come back to as we go. But I want to show you that the spleen is right next to the heart on the clock. And then on the other side of it is the small intestine. So there's a really strong correlation between digestive energy, physically and emotionally and spiritually, that supports the heart here. And then also showing you that the clock opposite of the spleen is the triple warmer, and the clock opposite of the stomach is the pericardium. So keep these in mind as we go today. We'll come back to this and, like I said, get a little bit more specific with what we're going to talk about here. But I just wanted to show you where we are and kind of help us all get grounded. See what I did there? And get a little lay of the land. Oops, I did it again. So again, we're coming into Earth season here, and the energy now moves down from that peak of yang, like I was saying before, and we're beginning to feel the weight of gravity again here. Earth energies see us moving into a space of intentional assimilation and integration, of maturation. It's a place where we bring into ripe form all the growth and expression we've cultivated in wood and fire seasons. So today, we're going to cover, as always, the earth season resonances, those nuts and bolts of the things that we see out in nature. We're also going to go deeper. I won't say deep all the way because that's not possible in an hour show, but we're going to go deeper into the earth organ officials, the spleen and stomach, like I mentioned before. We're going to talk a little bit about the idea of earth as the center. It's a big kind of foundational reference point in Chinese medicine. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We're also going to cover the virtue of earth, ways to nourish earth on all levels, and of course, a favorite earth acupoint and essential oil. I really love those. I hope you guys like them too. And I also wanted to bring in a new kind of segment in the show that's about the seasonal invitation, how we can work with the energies afoot in each season a little bit more intentionally. Okay. So I just wanted to take a second and offer a reminder. We're talking about energetics through the ancient classical Chinese medicine lens and through my own perception. So just as in nature, there will be some overlapping energies and themes from one season to the next, from one flavor of energies to another. Nothing in nature is purely black or white. There are always subtle nuances. And I just wanted to offer this to maybe keep in mind as we move through today's episode, because you will see some overlap. And sometimes that can be confusing. I know it was for me as a student, because I wanted everything to be like, this is this and this and this, and this is this and this and this. But that's not how nature is. It's way more dynamic than that. So I just wanted to offer that reminder. All right. So we're going to pop right on in here to these earth season resonances. The season governed by the earth element is late summer, primarily, but also it's felt in all of the seasonal transition points. And we'll talk about that more as we go. But there's this moment where you can feel this pause and this pivot and this moment of kind of taking stock of where we're at and the land that we're walking on and how we want to move with intention through shifts and into the next phase. And so that's part of the earth element. The organ officials, as we mentioned earlier, that belong to the earth element are the spleen and stomach. And the time of day of the stomach is 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. So breakfast time. How perfect. And the spleen time of day is 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. The emotion or emotions associated with the earth element. So the imbalanced or pathological emotion with the earth element is commonly referred to as worry. There are some themes of like overthinking and cogitation. Cody and I just had a talk about my own overthinking before we hopped on to this recording. It is definitely a thing. And then also part of an imbalance in the earth element can look like becoming overly merged with others. And we'll talk more about that as we go too. In balance, when the earth element is healthy and well, the emotion that resonates most here is sort of this empathic resonance with another, being able to sit with and care for another or ourselves while also maintaining our own identity. That's a big one in the earth element. So the life phase associated with the earth element is fruit. It's that ripe fruit on the vine. The color associated with the earth element, I bet you can guess it, for my shirt. It's a golden yellow. And the odor associated with the earth element is fragrant. And so we use the odor in clinic mostly. We're in a very intimate space with our clients and patients, and you notice all the things, and they're all kind of helpful diagnostic tools. And so in health, the earth element, that fragrant smell is kind of like a bloom at its peak, or even like honey, but imbalanced. And when it's not quite as well as it could be, the fragrant smell is more cloying, like rotting blossoms or fruit or too much perfume, where it kind of like hits you in your throat a little bit. The sound associated with the earth element is singing. And so when somebody is constitutionally an earth element, there's a real sing-songy quality to their voice. They kind of go up and down in pitch. I'm a metal earth constitution, and when I'm kind of in my element and feeling good, I can tend to get pretty sing-songy in my voice. But also at the same time, that can be a diagnostic symptom as well. So if somebody is a little bit too, like it's that cloying, kind of too sweet, too sing-songy, that can be a symptom of an earth imbalance. And then also like excessive singing can be a sign of maybe the earth needs a little bit of love. So if you're singing to the point of maybe annoyance, I'm guilty of this in my house. I sing to everybody and everything, especially when my earth needs some love. So that's the deal with the earth element sound. The healing sound of the earth is a whoo sound, kind of like an owl, but it's a really low tone. Here it goes. It's whoo. And again, when you hit that right tone, you can feel the resonance. You can feel those earth organs kind of humming along with you. The flavor associated with the earth element is sweet, and it's not sugar. We're not talking about sugar. One of my teachers, Michael Berletich, once said that the taste of natural spring water was the original sweetness that was referred to in the classics. And a lot of us don't have access to that, so we might not totally know what that tastes like, but it's this subtle sweetness. It's not overly sweet. It's not that cloying sweetness. It's the kind of sweet that comes from like root vegetables. And we'll talk more about that here as we go as well. The sense organ associated with the earth element is the mouth. And we kind of talked a little bit about this in fire, but it's whereas fire was more like the mouth and the tongue and how I'm speaking, and am I speaking from my heart, and is it coherent? The mouth is associated with the earth element. So like eating and taste and enjoying our food. And also something to kind of think about here with the mouth is saliva and the digestive enzymes that are produced through the saliva, through chewing our food. That's a very earthy theme. The body tissues associated with the earth element are the muscles and the fascia. And so there's some overlap between the earth element and kind of the gallbladder, and especially the triple warmer. But remember, the spleen, it's the spleen's clock opposite is the triple warmer. So they're working together here. And there's a lot about earth and connection and, kind of the terrain of our beings. So there's a lot here. I had such a hard time with this earth episode, kind of culling things back and making it fit into an appropriate size, which is also a very earthy theme. So I could go for days about this, and I'm trying to restrain myself. The mantra associated with the earth element is I nourish. And I think a healthy continuation of that is I nourish myself so I can nourish others. Because again, there tends to be this thing here in the earth element to, mesh with others and sacrifice ourselves to our own detriment to care for others. It's a huge thing in imbalanced earth. And so I nourish myself so I can nourish others. The spirit associated with the earth element is the yi, which loosely translates to intellect and or intentionality. So it's our capacity to digest, to transform, to break down and make good use of all the things coming in from the outside world, as well as our ability to stay with a task through to completion. It's our capacity to persist and persevere. Earth energy is very much about maturation, harvest, and being well resourced. Nourishing ourselves well so we can nourish others. Again, themes about, what are we cultivating? And are we cultivating from a place of abundance and satisfaction or from overwhelm and obligation? These are very earthy themes. And the energy, like I mentioned before, of Earth season begins to come down from the upward expansion of spring and wood and summer and fire. And this Earth is the place where we feel the feeling of being truly grounded, firmly rooted in upright, aligned integrity with ourselves and the world around us when our inner Earth is healthy. But we feel the opposite of these things, more inundated, overwhelmed, muddled, and heavy when our Earth is imbalanced. So, things to keep in mind. We'll see themes coming very clear here as we go. Okay. So, we talked about the Earth season resonance. Now we're going to move into a little bit more on the Earth officials. So the spleen and the stomach are the organ systems that belong to the Earth element. The balanced and healthy functioning of these Earth officials is what allows us to digest, process, and metabolize what we consume. Food, yeah, for sure. Ideas, knowledge, and experiences. And to make good use of these in our body. You're going to hear me say that phrase multiple times today. And to make good use of these in our body, in our spirit, and in our life. They cultivate the fuel we need to live in service to the Tao, to our path, to our purpose, or our unique expression here. Okay, so I just wanted to show the meridian pathways of each and kind of also get a feel for anatomical positions and things like that. So here's the pathway of the stomach meridian. It's a long one. It is one of the longest meridians on the body. So you can see here, it starts in the face and then runs all along the front and center. This is the anatomical stomach here. This is where it sits in our body. So the stomach itself is pretty central. It's in the center. And then its meridian kind of goes all the way down here and ends in this toe. It's a long meridian. So we'll kind of talk about the physical aspects of the stomach and the stomach system. So physically, the stomach is considered to be the official in charge of rotting and ripening. It receives all we consume, thoughtfully breaks it down, intentionally applying the right kind and the right amount of digestive juices as needed so that nutrients and nourishment are available for the rest of the body systems. In health, the stomach energy descends. This will be important for our conversation later. So the stomach energy naturally descends. So rebellious stomach chi, as we call it in the field, looks like nausea, vomiting, hiccups, indigestion, acid reflux, things like that. Psychospiritually, the stomach is all about tolerance of diversity, boundaries and containment, satisfaction and enjoyment of life. It's also considered to be the place where we feel our sense of belonging and home. Like the old hearth and cauldron in the center of the kitchen, the core of the home. So issues or patterns around, trickiness with belonging or where is my home can be symptoms of an earth imbalance. Healthy stomach energy wants to travel and explore new places, people, and food, and enjoys all of those things while also staying true to itself, knowing its identity, and feeling at home wherever it goes. The stomach meridian runs, like we saw, it runs all the way down the front and center of the body, including over the nipple and the breast. So we're for sure going to be thinking about nourishment with this one. Its clock opposite, like we talked about before, is the pericardium. And both of these are sacs that receive and envelop. So boundaries come into play here. And both oversee our enjoyment of life and our wanting to live, our wanting to be here. On to the spleen meridian. Okay, so this is the spleen primary channel. It kind of starts up here, more in the chest, close to the heart here. It has internal connections with the heart. This is the anatomical location of the spleen here. It's this teeny little guy, kind of central-ish. It starts in the toe. It starts at this point here and then runs up the center-ish of the body, kind of coming into contact with the heart and lungs. The heart and the spleen work closely together, but so do the spleen and the lungs through the immune system and all of that. So that's the primary pathway of the spleen meridian. And so physically, the spleen is considered to be, and it's going to be kind of like a mishmash of Western anatomical, thinking of the spleen and Chinese medicine ways of explaining the spleen. So physically, the spleen is considered to be part of the lymphatic system, which also includes the lymph nodes, tonsils, and the thymus gland. Hold on to this because I know what you're saying. What about the triple warmer? We talked about that with the lymphatic system. We'll get there. Hold on. So the lymphatic system is closely connected with the circulatory system, and the lymphatic system is responsible for gathering and returning interstitial fluid. Again, remember when we talked about this with the triple warmer? This is how those clock opposites relate with each other. It returns that to the bloodstream and creates many immune cells, as well as holds the blood for release when it's needed, like hemorrhaging or something like that. In health, spleen energy naturally rises, just like the meridian started at the toe and rose all the way up through the body. And it appropriately holds things in place. So when things herniate or prolapse, that's automatically something that I'm noticing as an earth imbalance. We need to support the earth. In Chinese medicine, the spleen also governs functions that may be anatomically related to the pancreas and the upper third of the small intestine. I see the spleen as the sort of engine of the small intestine's function of separating the clear from the turbid. We talked about that quickly in fire season. It helps to regulate the microbiome, the lymphatics, as we said, the stomach, hormones, fertility, and immune function. The spleen has its hand in everything. It's such an important system. Classically, the spleen's main function is to assist the stomach in transformation of foods and experiences and transporting them to the rest of the body to make good use of, there it is again, nutrients in those things. When spleen qi is healthy, we have a good appetite, strong digestion, and elimination. But when it's weak, we feel lethargic, heavy, we bloat easily, and tend towards loose stools and overthinking. Spleen qi deficiency is one of, if not the most common imbalances we see in practice as Chinese medical practitioners. It's a big, big imbalance. And I just want to take a second. I wasn't going to mention this, but it's really getting loud and making my throat feel funny. So here we go. I think it's interesting that, first of all, spleen qi deficiency or earth imbalance is massive. Like I just said, it's the most common imbalance that we see in practice in the world in general. And noting that its color is yellow. This is just an observation that I've had. Its color is yellow, right? And we've had this, it's very trendy or has been very trendy for a while for that real pale kind of buttery yellow to be everywhere. It's all over in all the clothes. You may not have noticed it, but I have totally noticed it. It's everywhere. I was obsessed with this color when I was in 8th grade. My mom made a dress for me and for my 8th grade graduation. Anyway, it was that color, but it's this pale yellow, right? It's almost been trendy as long as this whole situation with the smeglutides, the Ozempics, and the Wegovy's. And in case you don't know, those paralyze this system, the earth system. So we have this kind of pale, faint whisper of I need support from the earth element amongst this situation that we have with these injectables. Just something to think about. It's interesting how these elements show up in the world and present themselves and find ways to receive support in strange and unusual and maybe unexpected ways. So I just wanted to take a minute and mention that. That felt important for whatever reason. Back to the huge. Psychospiritually, the spleen is considered to be the mother organ. She has all the power, but works quietly and privately in the background. She is sure within herself and doesn't need recognition. In health, deficient spleen energy reveals itself as an unhealthy, consuming need to be seen and recognized, with a fragile ego and easily blaming others. It can also become overly involved or meddlesome, losing itself and others in the world. And I also see plenty of that pattern showing up in the world as well. The spleen to me feels like the mom in the kitchen stirring the cauldron and making sure everyone's fed and nourished. Or even like the devoted farmer who lovingly and consistently, intentionally tends to the garden, weeding, plowing, and cultivating the land day in and day out until a fertile and abundant harvest is made manifest. This is very earthy energy. The spleen meridian, like we saw, runs up from the toe along the front of the body more towards the center or the core. Its clock opposite, like we mentioned again, is the triple warmer, where they work together to ensure nourishment, flow, and integrity of the fascia, the mitochondria, and the lymphatic system. I mean, the mitochondria are involved here, right? I mean, obviously. So this is such an important system. And I just want to encourage you to remember to intentionally connect with these organs, the spleen and the stomach, and their systems as we honor them here today and throughout the earth season. Smile at them and feel them smiling back at you. Thank them for all they do for you all day, every day, because it's a lot. Okay, remember how we said the stomach chi naturally descends and the spleen chi naturally ascends? I see this, the power or the energy or the engine that turns the wheel of digestion, of integration between mind and body, spirit and matter. This dynamic is what turns the wheel of life and energy as we know it. If energy is deficient here, it's unable to move out and fuel and nourish the rest of the body, the land, and all her beings. Things get stuck and eventually wither away. This is a very unique place that the earth element holds in the 5-element cycle. We kind of talked about this a little bit before. Not only does it live between the fire and metal elements, but we also sense it, like I said, in all of the transition points between the other elements, meaning it's a central point from which the other elements move. It acts as a bridge between the elements and connects them together on the wheel of life. On this wheel, it's a place of balance between yin and yang energies and has the capacity to attune to all other elements, allowing them to connect with each other and move in harmony together. So think about this just in your own experience of the earth and of how nature moves. Just think about it. Think about ways this expresses itself in your world. And so again, I hear you. There's some serious overlap happening. If earth is the center, where does that leave the heart? If earth works as the harmonizer, where does that leave the gallbladder and the triple warmer? Remember what I said about there being nuance here. Nature is dynamic. It's multifaceted. Each element has similar actions and functions as the others, but accomplishes these with its own kind of nuance or its own kind of flavor, its own specialty within the whole system. So in my mind, the heart or the fire element is the void at the center, the empty space where all is organized around, like the hole at the center of the wheel. The earth element is the wheel itself. It moves and connects the wagon with itself and the ground. The gallbladder and triple warmer in my mind are kind of like the straps and the belts and the bolts that hold everything together, get things going, and keep them moving fluidly. Does this analogy perfectly fit everything in? Of course not. As we said, nature is dynamic, multifaceted, divinely organized, and runs on a kind of intelligence we know little about and understand even less. It offers us an opportunity to observe, learn, and gain wisdom in watching it move. This is part of why I love Chinese medicine. It honors natural intelligence. It never tries to outsmart, bypass, fix, or hack the body's processes. It always devotes itself to helping restore the body's natural energies, allowing the body to balance and reharmonize itself as it sees fit. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about Earth's virtue. I've mentioned it a handful of times so far. The Earth element's virtue is integrity. And as I was feeling into this year's Earth season energy, a very prominent theme persistently, a very earthy vibe, that persistence, presented itself. It's this thing about what are we cultivating? How are we cultivating it? And this quality of maturity as we honor the weight that comes with integration and materialization. Think of that devoted farmer. Imagine yourself as her or him. Feel the feelings of what that kind of devotion entails. The weight of having to get up every single day and persistently, consistently tending the land. The maturity it takes to follow through with the intention to show up, be present, decide what to weed, what to nourish, when, how much to water, when to add what kind of nutrients, how to nourish the worms, integrating and processing all the hard-learned lessons of lost crops and wasted time, making good use of these experiences and over long periods of time, seeing it all through until the materialization of it all, an abundant harvest. Something that nourishes the self and others and the land, the earth itself. Feel the kind of fullness and mastery that comes from this. This is what Earth's flavor of integrity is. Intentionality, persistence, perseverance, devotion. Taking the idea or inspiration and seeing it through to materialization in the physical. Doing what's right until. Thought and action aligned. Walking the talk. Integrity. Keep this in mind as we continue. There's an invitation here, and we'll come back to it later in the episode. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how do we nourish this earth? As we've discussed, the health of the earth element is vital for the health of the whole, the entire body and all its systems. And we've also talked about how dynamic earth and nature are. Knowing this, we can see how the ways we nourish this element will be dynamic as well. Honoring all levels, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So let's talk about a few physical ways to nourish and support earth energies. Cook your veg. If you've worked with me at all for any amount of time, you have heard me say this a lot of times. Cook your dang veg. Over-consuming cold raw foods and drinks depletes Earth's digestive capacity. Eat a warm breakfast. There's a theme here. The earth and spleen are most active between 7 and 11 a.m. Yes, your smoothie is taxing your earth energy. Yes, it is. Avoid overstimulation while eating. Everything that comes in on all levels means more spent earth. Too much is a burden, not nourishment. Put the phones down. All right, here's some specific foods that nourish the earth element. We're going to be looking for yellow and orange colored foods here. So fruits like banana, lemon, pineapple, orange, apricot, cantaloupe, mango. I love mangoes. Nectarine, peach, papaya. Oh, I just wanted to mention pineapple and papaya are rich with digestive enzymes. Extra earth nourishment. And veggies like carrot, sweet potato, butternut squash, squash in general, pumpkin, sweet corn, and spices like turmeric, saffron, mustard, sesame seed, and ginger. Ginger, I want to pause and kind of hover here for a minute because ginger is probably one of my most used herbs personally and with patients. It's so versatile, just like the earth element, which ginger has a strong affinity for the earth element. So I just wanted to take a minute and take a quick deepish dive here. Ginger is well known in Chinese medicine. It's touted as the only herb that can rectify and tonify the spleen. It warms, lifts, and dries the spleen when it's out of balance and too damp. Dampness is a huge issue with imbalanced earth, and we see it reflected in so many ways that we don't have time for today. But it is a thing. Ginger in itself can restore the earth's natural balance and chi dynamic, that dance between descending and ascending chi. That movement is so important for the turning of the wheel. Some of the organs and systems and meridians that ginger has an affinity for include the digestive system, the sinuses, the joints, the lung system, the spleen, and the stomach systems. So some key actions that ginger offers are it releases the exterior, so it helps encourage sweating, especially in times of like when you feel a cold and flu coming on. We call it perfusing the wei qi. We want to encourage sweating and rally the troops of our immune system to help push the pathogens up and out. It disperses cold and is warming. It alleviates nausea and vomiting. It stops coughing, reduces toxicity of other herbs and toxins. It adjusts, regulates, harmonizes the nutritive and protective chi. It promotes saliva production, making swallowing easier. So think about those digestive enzymes again. Ginger is an anti-inflammatory and analgesic and antispasmodic. And some of its main uses are for nausea, morning sickness, food poisoning, upset stomach post-chemo treatments, vomiting, sore throat, coughs, chills and fever, headache, joint pain, arthritis, cold limbs, constipation, edema, menstrual cramps, toxicity, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It boosts immunity, relieves indigestion, helps with slow or poor digestion. It helps with low back pain, ear aches, irritable bowel, loss of appetite, poor circulation. It cleanses the lymph. And it lowers blood pressure. The American Cancer Society has even promoted ginger as a treatment to prevent cancer tumors from developing. Just a note, not medical advice. Listen to the disclaimer at the end. So some of my favorite ways to use ginger, I typically prefer fresh grated ginger, and I always keep some fresh roots in my freezer for easy access and then just grate it over whatever I'm using it on. So I love it in hot water with garlic and green onions at the first hint of an oncoming cold and flu. Together, these three herbs help, again, open up the pores and encourage sweating. And then they also have their own like antimicrobial, anti-pathogenic properties in and of themselves. I also love ginger in warm or hot water each morning with fresh lemon juice and honey to hydrate and activate my digestive system, that earth element. I love it in the evening in my favorite chai tea with lots of cinnamon. This combo is great for encouraging digestion of the day's meals and experiences. It helps regulate blood sugar. It tends and sort of neutrifies the microbiome. It eases any aches and pains and gently restores vitality to the yang energy, that mitochondria within my cells and being. Also, just a pro tip, adding a quick grate of this fresh ginger to your summer fruits like watermelon. I've been craving watermelon lately to help avoid slowing or impairing that earth digestive function. And it helps prevent the accumulation of excess dampness, extra weight, extra heaviness, in feel and substance, that kind of thing. Okay, so back to mental and emotional ways to support the earth element. Make room for intentional rest. Take breaks from constant input, screens, sounds, all the things. Earth needs to digest all of those things, and it needs time and space to do so without being continuously bombarded with more. Create stillness. Put aside lingering or stressful issues just for a few minutes, a few times a day. Just be. Feel the tension in your gut relax. Ground and center. There's measurable improvement in mitochondrial function when we earth. Bare feet on actual earth. Imagine yourself planted within the earth herself, receiving her nourishment and offering her some of the light that moves through you as nourishment for her. On the spiritual level, we can nourish earth by writing it out. Journaling is a potent way to help digest experiences and transform them into wisdom, nourishment. It helps put a pause on the cogitation and allows space to move on. Let it take time. Most of our digestion is unconscious and automatic. Give it space. Let it rest. Trust the process. It's inbuilt in your anatomy, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. All right, so here is an Acupoint that I love for the earth element. So here is one of my favorites. There are so many. I literally had like 7 points that I wanted to share with you guys today, but this is the one that I landed on. It felt the most supportive. So this one is Spleen 3, Tai Bai. This translation is Supreme White. I like Supreme Purity, and I'll talk about why in just a minute. But you can find it here on the medial side, the inside of the foot on both feet. It's a bilateral point. In this depression that's proximal or closer to the heel or the ankle and inferior to the head of this first metatarsal bone here. So you can feel it. This is like that proximal edge of the ball of your foot. If you run your finger up from your toe toward your body, you'll fall into this depression here. It's snugged up into that bone. Okay, so back to the name of this point, Supreme Purity. Tai Bai. Tai means great or the greatest, most senior, supreme. It also means balanced or peaceful. Bai means white, pure, or clear. So there's this story in classical texts. It's actually in the Tao Te Ching 41. That's the story of, or this passage about the great purity that looks dirty. So the passage reads something like this. The path of light, the illuminated path, looks like darkness. The path of progress looks like you're taking steps backwards. The highest virtue looks like the lowest place. The greatest honor looks like shame. The greatest purity looks like dirt. So from a very superficial or limited perspective, soil, the stuff that earth builds, the ground we stand on, the stuff that quietly, humbly, in the background creates the nourishment that sustains the entirety of life on this planet, looks dirty from that limited perspective. It looks dirty. Like it should be full of mold and yucky stuff that no one wants to touch. But in actuality, soil, the earth, is the most alive, the most diverse. Think about that microbiome. And the cletus. It's also one of the most transformative substances there is. We can learn so much from soil, from the dirty, dark, and low places. Tai Bai is the source point and the earth point on this Mother Earth meridian. It's the earth within earth. It's a highly adaptogenic point. It knows what to clear and how much. It nourishes what needs nourished. It astringes dampness and can lubricate what's dried out. It can create and restore harmony to the earth element within us. It's a potent point, and you'll feel it. You will feel the potency of this when you start to work with it. Tai-Bai is about restoring integrity, body, mind, and spirit. It helps to transform the weeds, the wounds, and the outgrown patterns into fertile nutrients and wisdom. It helps us walk our talk, see our intention clearly, and stay with it until. It brings us back to center and aligns us with our heart. I love to use coriander essential oil on this point. I know I'm totally geeking out right now about it, but I love coriander on this point. This oil has an affinity for the earth element and nourishes digestion and distribution of nutrients. It's also wildly transformative of phlegm and dampness and of experiences. It facilitates movement and change. It's grounding and stabilizing while also enlivening and invigorating. While prepping for this episode, I felt overwhelmed and bogged down by the immense amount of info about Earth that I wanted to share, like I mentioned. And I felt foggy-headed, muddled, and kind of lost. I took a sniff of coriander essential oil and put a drop onto each Tai-Bai, each spleen 3-point, and immediately felt clarity come back in. I had a refreshed sense of purpose and a lifting of the weight I'd been stifled under. It really was like magic. So here's this invitation of the season. How can we make good use of the energetics available now? What is Earth asking of us? I mentioned earlier that Earth season encourages us to evaluate our relationship with integrity. It'll show us where we're out of integrity so that we can shore up and revitalize the inner and outer terrain that is our unique expression of integrity. If there's a lot to tend to, lots that's been ignored or abandoned or neglected, it will feel heavy and overwhelming at first. Just like a neglected garden. It may feel insurmountable. And some people choose to totally look the other way or try to mask, bypass, hack, sense the so common imbalanced earth pattern in so many of us and the world. You'll start to see it everywhere. It's easy to feel like there's a problem, something to fix, something wrong, or to lose ourselves in it and overly identify with it, and to assume it's a character flaw that's just part of who we are. That's not the point of any of the challenge we face in life. There's always an invitation, something that we're being asked to be present with, to be curious about, to learn and grow from. So, what's the invitation this Earth season? It'll be different for each of us in our inner landscapes. But so far from where I'm sitting, it's to do with the integrity with which we're cultivating. I hinted at this earlier. What are we cultivating? In ourselves, our relationships, our worlds. How are we cultivating? Is it haphazard or sporadic? Are we avoiding the hard? Is it whenever we feel like it? When we have time? Or is it intentional and with devotion? Are we walking our talk? Is what we're cultivating in integrity with our hearts and our true nature? Is it in integrity with the world around us? What needs to be weeded out? Can we metabolize past hurts, trauma, programming into something nourishing and useful? Or do we need to cut it out completely, roots and all? We can use our intent to do this work. We can use earth-nourishing foods, color, sound, and all of those are ways to support. The Acupoint and oil we talked about today are amazing for inner cultivation. There's so many ways to work with this season's invitation beyond what we've shared here today. There's wisdom from last year's Earth season episode available, as well as recipes from last year, more points, and so much more on Instagram. We'll link it all below in the show notes. Be sure to give us a follow over on Instagram so you don't miss anything this year. And also, if you haven't already, I'd love it if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Always listen to your own inner guidance. Notice specific themes, patterns, and synchronicities that come into your field and feel supportive throughout the season. Stay present with your intention. Be devoted to it this season. And see what comes into maturity, ready for that abundant harvest come autumn. Okay, that was a lot today. As usual, it's thick, it's ancient, it's so dynamic. There's a lot to digest in this episode. Let it take its own time. Let it move the way it needs to right now, and trust what needs to land will in right timing. Come back to it throughout the season as you need. It'll always be here for you. And as always, thank you for being here with me. I appreciate your presence here more than you know. Until next time, we'll see you in metal season. So much love to you. Disclaimer, not medical advice. The information shared in this episode is for general entertainment and educational purposes only. It's not intended to replace consultation with a trusted and qualified healthcare professional. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have and before beginning any exercise, nutrition, or wellness program.